I hope did they get you a charger? Because then you won't die.
We're live.
We're going live.
We're
We're
live.
live. Alrighty, perfect.
We're live.
Welcome everybody. Thank you guys so much, Maddie. Going live with me. Hopefully, you guys can see this now on our YouTube channel, and we're showing through for everybody. I appreciate everybody staying with us through those technical difficulties. Just kind of happens. Couldn't figure out what was going on the streaming platform. Didn't do anything different, and then all of a sudden it worked. So really fun there. Maddie, I don't see us going on YouTube right now. Are we going on YouTube?
Yeah, we should be live everywhere. Let me check.
Oh, okay. There we go. Okay, we're good. Okay, I wanted to make sure everybody can see us. Like, give us a hey, what's up in the chat. Thank you guys so much for staying with us here. Technical difficulties could come in and out. Maddie and I had no idea what was going on, and then all of a sudden it worked. One time when we go, but we are going bare bones because we wanted to get this show to you because it is an exciting week for our show. Thank you guys for joining us because Maddie, last week, now that we have all of that tech difficulty behind us, we hit our parlay. We had Dricus du Plessis money line, Stuart Nickel, Jesus Aguilar under 2.5, and then Carlos Prates inside the distance plus 684. And that cash. So now 3 of the last 14 weeks, we put together a winning parlay. You are in the black if you have tailed 1 unit on each of them, Maddie. So the guys have every reason to be happy with us for putting that together. We'll of course try at the end of today's show to put one together for UFC Vegas 96. But Maddie, I'm going to turn it over to you because I want your initial thoughts on UFC 305, how it went for you, just a recap of the event for you.
Yeah, it was a straight roller coaster ride, bro. Like, I had a big hit early in the night on the first fight. I had a submission. It was actually an unofficial play where I was tailing Hayden. And then I did not see Steve Erceg losing. That was crazy. Dan Hooker, I was on Gamrot, and I was blown away that people thought that Gamrot won that fight. Like, I had it a clear 2-1 for Hooker on damage, but a lot of people had it for Gamrot. So no one can ever tell me I'm biased because I had a big bet on Gamrot and I lost, and I wasn't mad with the decision at all. But yeah, I lost. Those were the 2 chalk plays of the night. Thank God, bro. I'm going to be honest with the whole chat right now. I chased on Dricus du Plessis. I was so pissed about Gamrot and Erceg's performance. I tripled my bets. I do what you're never supposed to do in gambling. I chased on that bet. I ended up betting round 4. I bet round 3, 4, 5 sub. It was 38-1, 42-1. I forget what round 5 was. I hit on round 3 sub. I hit on 2 big money line bets on Dricus, and I hit on a sub bet. So it ended up being a crazy finish to the night. So I was happy with the card. It was a very entertaining card. Got to give credit to Izzy, who looked good in the fight, especially early.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, there was just too much of a grappling. There was just too much of a grappling difference in skill set. We talked about that on the show, and we just felt like Dricus had more ways to win. And, we kind of predicted it perfectly. We said he would use the strike in, mix in the takedowns, and he's a finisher. He looks for the finish when he gets it to the ground. So, we were able to get that win there. But it was a very entertaining card overall.
Yeah, absolutely. I certainly don't know if I would do it again with the biggest bet of my life on Dricus du Plessis. Like you said, Izzy looked great, and I was in shambles. But I actually have something fun for everybody today because how about Carlos MF and Prates, bro? That was nasty the way that he surgically knocked out the leech. We got Caio Borralho in the main events. You guys know me. I'm a nerd. I love numbers. I got to rep the fighting nerds this week with Caio Borralho in the main event. Really weird gambling week last week where Tom Nolan was minus 650 inside the distance. Didn't cash. That alone would have been one of the biggest upsets of the year in UFC, on a money line. It didn't end up hitting. Yeah. It goes to decision 14-1. Ended up coming through there. But like you said, I think the Hooker fight was a coin flip. I felt good about a money line bet on Hooker just because it was so close, whether he got it or not. You just hope a few of those go your way. And then, like you, I was pretty heavily exposed to du Plessis, so it was a phenomenal weekend for us for the show. I of course, Maddie, the one week I forget to tail the show parlay is when it cashed. So maybe I just won't put it.
What was the parlay?
It was du Plessis. Yeah, plus 684. It was actually the largest one we've hit on the show yet. So, of course, quote unquote safe.
You got the legs for me again.
It was du Plessis money line, Stewart,
Yeah.
nickel, and Aguilar under 2.5, which Aguilar cashed with a guillotine, which you also had money on, by the way, and then
Yeah.
Prate inside the distance. So rocking the glasses for the
Yeah,
fighting
that was
nerds. We'll
free. Yeah, that was
talk
free.
about
That
Borralho
was
later.
free.
But if there's anything we don't need to be, it's the guys that suck their own dick about how they did on a good weekend, especially when we've had plenty of bad ones. So why don't we move on, Maddie? We'll dive into UFC Vegas 96. Interesting week where we have the Ultimate Fighter finales, 2 of them from this Ultimate Fighter 32, as well as we have another fight from that show. So I'm a data guy. I love data. There's not data in 4 of these fights this week, so it's really kind of puts me in a position where I don't feel super comfortable with. There's still stuff that stands out to me. Before we dive into this women's flyweight bout next to us, you got any high level overview takes of the card?
6 out of 10. Maybe that's even generous here. Maybe 5 out of 10. So I am
I
excited for the
yeah.
main event. I'm excited for a few fights. The GM3 fight, the Neil Magny Morales fight, Tabitha Arichi, Angela Hill. There's 4 good fights on the card, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's exactly the number that I was able to model. So you might be very in on that. So I apologize we are so late, but it may not be a very long show anyway. So we might give you your time back in that regard. And that
Yeah.
starts with this first fight up we're going to talk about, Maddie. I did actually have something that was peculiar to me in this fight. I wouldn't say it's a confident lean between Kong Wang and Victoria Leonardo. Kong Wang coming off road to UFC. Leonardo, we've seen her last fight was a knockout loss to Natalia Silva. She also lost to Melissa Gatto, Mandy Boom mixed in there, also long gone from UFC. So this is as bad as it gets in women's MMA. Got to remind ourselves of that. And then Kong Wang is now minus 1100 favorite. So Maddie, how you parlaying her money line this week? I'm kidding, of course. Any thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, I mean, so Khan had that guillotine choke. What was that? Was in the road to the UFC finale. And bro, I just looked at the number on FanDuel. Tell me what I'm missing here, but her knockout, like she's a minus 1300 favorite as of right now, right? So we're obviously
Yeah.
not looking at, but her knockout is plus 110, decision is plus 210, her submission is plus 420. Now she has 1 knockout in her career.
Yep.
Oh wait, hold on, I'm on the wrong Tapology here. So she has actually on Tapology, her shit's not even listed. That's crazy. You can see the fights, but they don't even summarize it.
Oh
But
my
she's coming
goodness.
off of the guillotine choke, and then she's had what two of her last 5 fights she's won by submission, 2 decisions, and 1 knockout. What am I missing here that the submission is plus 420?
Maddie, that's my read as well, because when you deep dive the stats for Road to UFC, 9.8 submission attempts per 15 minutes. It was a quick, aggressive sub. And you know why I think it's like that? I just have a theory of why I think it's like that. It's because of how Leonardo has lost in UFC. She lost by knockout at distance to Manon Fiorot, but that's what Fiorot does. She lost to Natalia Silva via knockout, and that's kind of what Natalia
Yeah.
Silva does. Whereas Leonardo, you look at Gato and say she lost by knockout. Those of you go back, either you watch the tape or you remember, that was actually a broken arm TKO. It was one of those from a submission attempt from a grappling exchange. So I think Kong Wang has the opportunity. Like you and I fall in love with subs. Now you just hit a round 4 sub at like 42-1 last week. And the week before you catched a couple of them paired together. We talk about submissions being a bad bet. But this is actually a place where I really like it. I think it should be her most likely outcome of victory. So plus
I'm
420 to
blown
me
away. Yeah.
tendency.
Bro, if we can
This is a
start
low
the night
level
with the
fight.
submission, if we can start the night with the submission win, I mean, I'm getting a now minus 1300 favorite to win by sub here.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. Plus 420. I'm taking that every single day. That's going to be on my card 100%.
Yeah, and there's a certain amount of this we are leaving to odds makers. Kong Wang 92.9% implied to win at this spot. She could be a fraud. Road to UFC has given us plenty of them, so we're not parlaying her money line. We're simply looking at her method to victory outcome and seeing which one. And by the way, the takedown stats on Road to UFC, she went for the takedown immediately. She, at least to me, from limited footage I've seen, appears to be a grappler and prefers that. And by the way, the knockout rate's low at women's flyweight anyway. So, Maddie, I'm with you. I feel like I'm falling into the trap. It's not going to be a huge play, but how do we not play sub?
Oh, yeah, we have to play it. And by the way, there's a comment in the chat asking about the show parlay. So we didn't in the show parlay we had Duplessis money line. We had the under 2.5 rounds in a nickel fight, and then we had Carlos Prates by finish. So that was a plus 684 cash on FanDuel that we
Mhm.
hit to answer that question. So
Maddie was all over that. I was looking at nickel inside the distance. You talked about the under, and then we decided on that. It's like that's why we do this shows to talk to each other about these angles. But I always love when we can come out of the gates with like a play of some sort. I'm gonna throw a quarter unit on it. I'm not gonna go crazy, but
yeah,
I just feel like I have to. I got to take the plunge. It's interesting enough. So we'll move forward here. We'll talk about we got these cap cuts, and kudos to our graphics department for digging into these Ultimate Fighter fights for this one. Look how small Nathan Fletcher looks on that one.
this
I
looks
just
like
swear,
the Contender Series fight the other night.
yeah, with Torres Finney against the guy
By the
who's
way, bro,
6'2". Yeah,
I'm like really legitimately debating on not betting fucking Contender Series the rest of the year.
yeah,
Last year we got like this is just the hardest thing to bet on out of anything. Like it's just unbelievable the shit that happens in that. I just
yep,
can't figure it out. Last year at the end of the year we got crushed on Contender Series. And then the first two Contender Series, and again, I'm not even handicapping the card or putting out full cards, but I'm playing some long shots and I'm tailing some of the boys and I'm just doing a little bit of here and there. It's just a fun way to gamble on a Tuesday night. But man, that the Contender Series is just crazy, bro.
yeah. I like the pacing. I like the event. Like you said, I haven't been very good at it. I'm negative 1.3 units so far on Contender Series. If I break even, I'll be happy because there's no data. So I'm not living in my world. Like you said, I see it as an opportunity for me to challenge myself on the film side. So that's kind of why I look forward to it.
Yeah, no,
But
I get it. I get it.
speaking of challenging myself on the film side, how about this one? Of these two that are on the Ultimate Fighter, but both of them actually suffered injuries that made it so they couldn't fight in the Ultimate Fighter semifinals at featherweight. Zigomantis Ramashka, Nathan Fletcher from England. Fletcher had a broken leg. Ramashka, I actually don't remember what happened. They did a feature on the show about how he was too injured from that war he had on there in order to fight in the semifinals. So these guys are getting a second chance from Dana White. He's saying, hey, both you guys, you get to fight because you weren't able to make the semifinals due to injury. Fletcher a minus 184 favorite here, Maddie. I actually put action on this today from doing homework. So I'm curious if you had a read or you had gotten to it, and if not, I can tell you kind of what I found.
Yeah, so I don't have a huge read on this fight. Fletcher trains with Patty, doesn't he?
Yes, in England, yeah, and I think he's definitely a grappling style as well.
Yeah. And then Ramask is more of a, kickboxing style.
Mhm.
I don't have much for you on this fight, so I'm interested to hear what you have.
Yeah, I think Ramashka is worth a dog shot here. Like, I mean, when you speak of dog shot, you want a dude that'll fight for your money. You want a dude there's probably going to be the damage versus control element. We saw that on the Contender Series. People were talking about giving Torres Finney's fight away. That's how far we've gone off the deep end with like the wrestling versus striking dynamic. And Ramashka's a guy that'll throw up submissions. He showed that on his regional footage. I think you can score from the bottom there as well. It all comes down to his takedown defense, but I think can it be good enough? Maybe Fletcher's in a position where he doesn't have a lot of experience. Maybe he gasses. I played Ramashka plus 145 here. I just like what I saw on footage. I think he's a guy that has great cardio, aggressive in all phases. And Fletcher's a guy that definitely values control and he values
Yeah.
position. And maybe he spends 10 minutes of this fight on top, and so be it. But I only put a unit on it. I definitely feel like when I looked at it, Ramashka should at least be like in a coin flip-ish type of fight. So I felt like these odds are pretty distant. It's a little weird that Fletcher's
Yeah.
such a large favorite and growing. Maybe I'm missing something.
Yeah. No, it feels like a dog or pass spot, honestly. And Ramask's he's never been subbed either.
Yes. And he'll throw up quite a few subs. I honestly feel if there's a guy that's going to sub the other guy in this fight, I would take Ramashka. He's just very voluminous with the attempts. He's not always great about
Mm,
hitting them, but we don't have any props on this fight yet. This fight was just announced earlier this week, like it
right.
officially came out of the UFC card. So we won't be able to go very far in that, but
Yeah. Give them the
just my
breakdown,
thought.
bro. I need 30 seconds here, but give them the breakdown of this one.
Okay, Maddie needs 30 seconds. He can happily take it because we are going up to women's bantamweight, maybe the toughest division that we have to handicap in UFC. We saw that a couple weeks ago when a former opponent of Josie Nunes, Chelsea Chandler, fought. Now she'll take on Jacqueline Cavalcante. Cavalcante probably turned some heads, I'd say, in her debut. She took on Zara Farron in her debut. That was actually at women's 145. Now she'll drop to 135 here after absolutely dominating that fight and Josie Nunes coming off the loss to Chelsea Chandler. That was her first UFC setback, even though she had a negative striking differential against Farron. So that's why this line sits as it does. Jacqueline Cavalcante, dominant effort against Zara Farron. Josie Nunes more so squeaked by. And I think the physical disparity is going to be the biggest challenge in this fight, where Nunes at 5'2", I've always seen her as sub women's bantamweight, but she prefers to pack on the tank, tank, brick house, looking for knockout power. She's actually dropped 2 of her 4 opponents in UFC thus far, so she's got that working for her. I certainly think Cavalcante, though, is the more technical striker. She's the longer fighter. Where are we going?
I spilled my fucking drink all over. It's been a night from hell, bro. It's literally been a night from hell. So we're relocated rooms.
Oh boy! I mean, the hits keep on coming. If there's a sign to take it easy on this card, it might be this. And it's a good card to take it easy. I can guarantee this won't be close to my largest card of the year as a result. But had you had a chance to tape this fight, I was just saying maybe the physical disparity of this fight, and also how these two performed against Zara Farron is kind of why the line sits where it is. It feels like Cavalcante is prohibitive chalk here. We'll talk about her decision prop and what you think of it, but do you see a dog shot? Are you thinking more so?
How do you feel about her size in this fight? Because she lost to Chandler, the Chelsea Chandler, by just being Chandler was just too big for her.
Yeah,
I think her knockout prop. If I'm gonna back a dog here, I'm gonna go knockout, or I'm gonna just take the favorite in this fight. But I think she's like kind of knockout or bust in this spot.
Yeah, I feel like Cavalcante, though, she's a former featherweight, too. She's much larger. I just feel like Nunes at 5'2", she's in the wrong weight class. It kind of felt like that against Chandler. And
100%.
I don't think the size and the strength is going to be the issue here. Cavalcante is more of a kickboxer. I think it's the length. I think the length is going to be her biggest thing to overcome and not just get touched up in this fight.
Yeah. I saw Cavalcante. She outstruck her in her USA debut. She outstruck her by like 86 strikes. Something like that.
It was dominant. And, this is the same woman, Zara Farron, that Nunes had a minus 15 differential against. So it's not good. It doesn't look good on paper from that perspective.
Yeah, I think Cavalcante is probably a good favorite here.
Yeah.
The question is, how does she get it done? Decision's the most likely outcome at minus 105. Her knockout is 9-1. Is that crazy? Is that crazy that the minus 215 favorites knockout is 9-1 and the dogs is plus 650?
Yeah, it's just weird, dude. She's a kickboxer. She doesn't have any career wins by sub, but she's plus 650 to win by sub, plus 900 by knockout. It's like, is that a mistake? Is that a typo? Like, I almost kind of
so weird.
Let me cross-reference another book and see what we're looking. I almost wonder if that's a mistake.
Yeah, I mean, that's just insane.
No, I don't think there's a lot of finishing equity.
He's had 3 wins by knockout. I mean, you almost got to take a stab at a 9-1 play there.
Yeah. Cavalcante. Yeah, no, she's longer to win by knockout on this book. Maybe they know something.
Nunes has never been knocked out either, so.
Yeah.
It's probably Cavalcante by decision at minus 105. It's probably the easy bet there. Just double your money up. Take this chick to win by decision, but maybe you sprinkle a quarter unit on the 9-1 knockout. Plus 700 on the
I was taking a look to see if we got. Yeah, Chad likes Josie. Like, I just feel like Josie early on, she got Bea Malecki, knocked her out in the first round. Ramona Pascual was well sub UFC competition. Really, the Farron fight is where I started to wonder if Josie Nunes was a little bit of a house of cards that, this division doesn't have very much talent. I feel like her physical tools, bro, it's just going to cost her against some of these high level girls. And like Cavalcante proved herself to be on a different level than Farron. So, I don't know. I agree with you. I think it's Cavalcante by points. It's going to make my card.
I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll move forward here. Maddie, I actually do have a really angle I feel good about that I circled in this fight. So we might have like a bona fide, not a sprinkle play here. You're probably saying OGs because what could possibly
I still fucking hate
don't trust
Zack Reese for getting dumped on his head by Brundage. I'll never forget him. I have a question for you. If he fought Brundage 10 times, how many times does he win that fight?
7, 8, in my opinion.
And the one time I take him to get a finish, he gets dumped on his head. I think he subs Brundage an awful lot of times. I think this
Yeah.
guy's submission game is actually really nice. You know, he's
Agreed.
coming off the KO win, right?
Yes. So he got the knockout in like 20 seconds of Julian Marquez in that fight,
Yeah,
in
this
his
could be
last
a
fight.
spot. This could almost be a spot, or not, maybe not even this fight, but like this guy in general. I just think he's gonna rack up some subs in the UFC. Like maybe
Mhm.
not an upper level competition down the road, but like I think like bottom or middle level competition, he could rack up some subs.
Yeah, dude, you and I are in lockstep tonight on these plays because, and just so if you don't know, Maddie and I don't talk to each other about this card. We try to avoid it as much as possible because we just want to come in with our own perspectives. I had Zach Reese and Reese by submission and Reese by round one submission circled here, dude, because Jose Medina on the Contender Series got absolutely mopped in the grappling, 14% takedown defense. The thing is, he was
Yeah,
facing Gagiasulov. Gagiasulov was the guy a few weeks ago that fought Brenson Ribeiro, not a submission guy. Zach Reese is 8.9 submission attempts per 15. He submitted his Contender Series opponent. He was maybe seconds from armbarring Brundage if Brundage didn't think of that really clever defense to it, right? In fact,
yeah.
the randomness of that fight is Brundage said he got the idea from the previous fight where Drakkar Close slammed
Exactly.
Joe
That was the
Solecki on his
crazy
head.
part about it, bro.
So if that fight doesn't happen, it's quite possible that he
What are
does
the
end up
what
getting
are the
armbarred.
mathematical odds of back to back fights that both fighters get dumped on their heads and getting KO'd?
Yeah,
That's just crazy, bro. And
yeah,
he's been subbed once. Like you said, he struggled with the grappling. Zach Reese by knockout is the most likely outcome at plus 115, but the sub is sitting there at plus 220. And I think people are gonna be all over that KO prop after what they saw in his last fight. And I
yeah,
think his submission game is his bread and butter here. I think he
yes.
gets it in this matchup.
I do too. And Maddie, if you look what round one sub is, like I just don't feel like Medina's fought anyone with submission danger to this point. And
Yeah.
I agree with this comment wholeheartedly. Medina is awful. He's just tough. He took a beating from Gagiasulov. I don't see you submitting this dude quickly. Like I almost kind of want to look at what
You're
round
knocking him
two.
out quickly.
Yeah, I don't think you can knock him out quick late. This dude is
Yeah.
just like he is as tough as a $2
But
steak.
that's
Like
why
I
the sub makes so much sense because the guy
exactly.
isn't going to go out easy on the striking.
Oh,
You know, he's clubbing subs live, just a regular sub like a takedown, get his back, you know, get an arm bar, something. I mean, the round one sub at plus 410 is just staring at me right now.
yeah, dude. I'm so glad you feel that way because like we joke about I joked with you earlier about your subs this week that you love submissions because of the numbers. Here's where it's a little shorter than we normally see for a submission. I think it's for very good reason in my opinion.
Yeah,
Reese has
sure.
shown that tendency and to me I'm with you. I think his subs are pretty nasty. So
Yep.
we'll play maybe Maddie we think about like a do we think about a round one sub parlay at the end of the show Reese and Wang Kong? Just like as a
But
you know,
that's cashing.
oh yeah, we'll craft
Hold
some of
on.
those at the end of the show.
I'm gonna type it in now
Yeah,
and see if there's one more that could come up.
yeah, absolutely. See if we could throw a three legger in there. But
Round one
why don't we,
sub, the column 10-1, by the way.
it's 10-1 round one.
10-1.
That one I feel less good about round one, just because I know Reese is a guy that comes out with his hair on fire from the beginning.
Yeah.
I could see some length with women's MMA. Like you remember that girl, Petrovich, who you tailed a sub because you said she was training her BJJ in the gym and then she didn't get it till
Yeah.
round three. That's what scares
Yeah.
me about round one with Wang. Maybe we just do a general sub lay. But Maddie, next fight up, I've actually already got a parlay on this one that I put in the Discord. And by the way, if you want to join the Discord to get Maddie's picks, my picks, you can even pay for smarter people's picks like Ajive, Nolan, the parlay, and JJ who does the Octagon Kings as well. They have smarter picks that you can actually pay for that they don't give out for free like me and Maddie. All of that stuff in the Home of Fight Discord. We leave it in the episode description every episode. We invite you to meet us there because you get all sorts of news, DFS plays from everyone, all that good stuff. But Maddie, I already have a play here on this fight. Vyacheslav Borshev taking on James Yontop. If I had a fight of the night circled on this card, I think it would be this one, just because these two are both willing to bang it out on the feet, and they've both been pretty darn good customers on the feet from what we've seen
Mhm.
so far. So I think this is a good fight. I have a particular lean of who might win it, and every other dude I've talked to is on the other side, which scares the dickens out of me. So, Maddie,
Yeah.
you are my ultimate voice of reason. Who do you think is going to end up coming out ahead between
I'm not gonna
Slaviclaus and
I'm not gonna be able to talk you out of this fight because I don't have too strong enough of a lean. What I will say is Slaviclaus really screwed me in his fight against Chase Hooper. That was my viral bad beat video that went crazy on social media. I fucking made a prediction video and I said Chase Hooper is gonna knock out Slaviclaus, and it was over 10-1 odds. I got completely clowned on the video before the fight started, like people just thinking it's the dumbest bet of all time. What happens? Chase Hooper comes out. What do you outstrike him like 65-2 or something? Comes
yes.
out, and again, I was betting that because of the ground and pound. But Chase Hooper, with an overhand, put this dude Slaviclaus to the ground, and Chase Hooper's really improved. To give him props there. And then Slaviclaus has a bump like the size, like this fucking big on his head, and the ref doesn't stop it. He's just getting beat into the ground and pound, and the ref doesn't stop it. And then Chase finally finds his back and subs him. I was disgusted. I thought that was a perfect read, but he ended up subbing him. It was the first time Slaviclaus lost by a sub. It'll be interesting to see how he bounces back here. I mean, this dude's primarily a striker.
Yep.
I don't think he's going to have issues in this matchup. Slaviclaus looked very good before the Chase Hooper fight. So we have to ask ourselves now is that Chase Hooper fight just more about how good Chase has gotten, or is Slaviclaus kind of like a little bit, was it more of like a little bit of a fraud check here? I think he's a good favorite here, but at this number, it's tough. So you tell me what you have here and see if you can sell me on it.
So I played Slava money line. I think it's a good money line just because there's basically no submission equity and you get KO decision, which like that particular part I've had a harder time leaning because Yontop has proven to at least be tough thus far.
Yeah.
Like Malik Lewis got out to a fast start about him, but like this is where I stand as a prior evaluation with Yontop. We saw Malik Lewis lose to Trevor Peak in worse fashion on the Contender Series. And then this guy goes out against Chris Padilla, who's a regional guy. I liked Padilla in that fight. I bet him as an underdog. Never would have bet him round one. I thought if anything, he squeaks out a decision with his wrestling, and he gets finished in the first round. And like now, I know he can't grapple, which isn't really an issue here. But I've just got a level. I just don't think he's a very high level fighter, and he's plus 186 here. To me, this reminds me of more when Slaviclaus faced Mahashate, where he was just levels above that dude on the feet. And I think if you give Slava 15 minutes on the feet against just about anybody in this lightweight division, he's going to be competitive, if not well ahead. And like, I just don't think Yontop is very clean with his combinations. I think he leaves a lot of defensive openings. Like, I just have yet to be impressed by him. And like, we got a good comment if you want to throw it up there. Let's see. It's that I think he got dropped by Hooper because of the takedown threat. He wasn't thinking about striking in that fight. And Chase Hooper is Chase Hooper's a big guy at lightweight. He is a guy that projects as he grows into his analytical prime to have a lot of power. I think Chase Hooper's really good, man. And like I tend to forgive Slava. I don't think his chin is poor. In fact, he took a beating in that fight. If you want to worry about the damage angle, I get it. But the bet that I love in this fight, Slaviclaus round 2-3 knockout, it's plus 410 on FanDuel if you want to tie them together, or you could stagger them. Method and round combo, Vyacheslav KO plus 750 round 2, plus 1100 round 3. I'm going to sprinkle those in addition to the money line that I've already got here.
Yeah, I need to watch more footage on this one. But I am maybe leaning towards like a Slaviclaus 2-3 KO here.
Yeah.
The numbers are good on that, honestly.
Yeah, they are pretty good. When like I feel like Yontop is kind of tough, so I don't see him going out in round one, and I just feel like he's going to land the harder shots on the feet. So maybe this does get dragged into a decision, but decision is also.
Do you have any concerns on Slaviclaus like after taking that much damage his last fight?
It's tough to play the damage game, but it's been a little bit, and I also don't feel like Yontop is a super powerful hitter, which I think both of those things work in his back. Slaviclaus' knockdown rate is pretty substantial, bro. I don't have it in front of me. I misplaced it. I don't know where I put it, but it's over 1. It's definitely he dropped Mahashate 3 times. Mahashate has had a granite forehead against everybody else, so I think he's no joke on the feet. To me, I actually feel like this is a buy low spot on Slaviclaus, even after what happened to Yontop.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah. Everybody I've talked to about that fight is worried about his damage, but like I don't know how much I should factor that in. But Maddie, I don't know if you saw this one come together this week. I kind of want to ask you about it. I haven't done anything with it because I don't really know what to do with these featherweight underachievers, if you will. This will take place at 155 though, between Dennis Bazooka coming off his first UFC win. Francis Marshall on the other side, a more forgivable loss to Isaac Dolgarian the last time we
Yeah.
saw Dolgarian. These guys both had some hype when they came in, ups, downs, and all arounds. Now Francis Marshall stepping in on very short notice, but still a minus 146 favorite here. So what are you thinking in this fight? I can't hear you. What happened to the audio? Whoop. We got Maddie coming back. I still can't hear you. What happened? Let me something to do with me. Whoop. What's going on? I feel like I lost. That was weird, man. Oh, there you
Talk
are.
also.
No, I
All
got
right.
you now. Yeah. What
Okay.
happened?
Dude, who the hell knows? Someone I think is like just fucking with me today. I don't know what's going on, bro. I
All right.
honestly don't know what's going on. Go
All
ahead.
right.
So I didn't hear much of what you said. So
Oh, okay. No worries. I mean, like, I was just introduced to these guys up and down at featherweight, going to take place at 155. Interesting Marshall on short notice, a slight favorite here. I don't know what to do to this site. So, do you have one of these guys that you like better than the other? Like, I chat. You can
I,
chime in here too, because I'll take ideas from anybody.
I like Dennis, bro. I think this is a dog or pass spot. Like Dennis is kind of like I like who he trains with. I
Hmm.
like. Oh my god, this should just do the skin. Hold on.
I still hear you.
Okay, you can hear me.
Yep.
These warnings keep coming up. Okay. No, I think this is definitely a dog or pass spot here. I mean, Marshall's on short notice. I think Dennis, you're just going to see him consistently get better and better. Like I just like what I've seen out of him. Even if you go back to the Sean Woodson fight, like he got put away by Jamal Emmers the fight after, but like I just look at him as like a dog that's gonna fight for your money, is gonna get better every time he steps into the octagon. He's constantly training. Like I just think that he's a solid underdog spot here. What was he at? He's plus 116 right now. There's no outcomes on the board because this fight was just made, but I just think he's a solid dog spot here.
Yeah, he's the guy. He's the guy on longer notice. I totally agree with you that I prefer the Sarah Longo gym. Marshall's been training at American Top Team, so like I feel like gym on gym here is pretty good. I am a little concerned about Bazooka. Like in general, I feel like when Sean Woodson takes you down 4 times and Jamal Emmers flattens you in less than a minute, neither of those guys have been particularly strong in those realms. And gets a guy coming off the Contender Series on his last fight, so we're not sure about him. But at the same time, I feel like Francis Marshall's gotten dogged by anybody that I'd consider a decent high level fighter in UFC. So like
Yeah. I
I
mean,
don't have.
To give you some MMA math, Connor Matthews went the distance with Francis Marshall.
Yeah.
And then, where was I going with this?
And then
uh,
Matthews just lost round 3 to
thank
Bazooka.
you. Thank you to Bazooka. Yeah. So it's a little bit of MMA math for you there. I just look at this fight as like, to me, it's like a straight coin toss. You give me plus 116. I'm going to take the guy who I think is consistently going to get better and better every fight.
I wish I could bet Bazooka to win round 3 because like I feel good about that and that he's the guy on longer notice and maybe I bet him to finish in round 3 and
Maybe
it
two,
maybe a
maybe 2-3.
yeah. I just
I can see a
like
2-3.
if you ask me in general at which one of these two is better in a vacuum, I would probably say Marshall, but I don't feel very strongly about that, and I feel like he's at the significant disadvantages here. So I may kind of all lean Bazooka, but then I'm leaning against talent in my perspective. So all of this fight feels not great to me. It may end up be a total pass on my card. Maybe the prop market will come through for me, but I'm not
Yeah.
feeling it. Something tells me something weird is going to happen in this fight. Like a dude absolutely hurt early, comes all the way back, or something like something weird that's going to tilt betters is going to happen in this fight. Is my official verdict. So,
Yeah. I could see that. I could see
yeah,
that.
we'll move forward, Maddie, because we don't have much left on that one. Up onto the main card here, and I think now we're starting to get some fights that we have a little bit of data on. Like we can feel better about these guys here. Edmond Shabazian taking on Gerald Mearshart at middleweight. What if I told you in 2020 these dudes would end up fighting as Mearshart got KO'd by Ian Heinisch and it looked like Shabazian was going to be the next big thing at middleweight, and we all of a sudden learned about his shortcomings too. So, Maddie, I think this has a very distinct lean as far as a tenor of who wins early, who wins late, but how do you weigh the
Yeah.
percentages of what happens where? What are you thinking in this fight? Like if you got one bet or one angle, like what is your gut telling you?
I mean, if I only had one bet, I'm going GM3 money line all day here. I don't understand how you could lay minus 300 with Edmond here in this spot. Like, I
Mhm.
get he just got that round one KO, and that's usually how he's going to win. But what has he done before that recently? Like, really not much of anything. He finally gets a round one KO against Dobson, who, if you look at Dobson's resume, he's losing to 80% of the people he's fighting in the UFC.
Mhm.
And GM3 is experienced. He's a vet. He's training hard. He obviously has massive grappling upside. And then he's been in there with guys like Joe Pyfer, like upper level guys like Pyfer, he. I just think that he's got to survive early. We all know that, right? He
Mhm.
knows that going into the match, going into this
Mhm.
fight, right? I think he's a higher IQ guy. He's going to be smart the first 5 minutes. He's then going to look to wear Edmond down. And I'm playing GM3 round 2-3. I'm going money line. I'm going round 2-3. And I'm telling you right now, there's a prop that is fucking staring me in the eye right now that everybody's going to hate, but it is unbelievable of a number. GM3 by knockout is plus 1,600 in this
Wow.
fight. 16-1 in this fight. He could wear Edmond down, and then we know anything's possible, whether it's a ground and pound or a submission. We've seen GM3 chin Bruno Silva. I mean, crazier shit has happened. I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw that number at plus 1,600 because my first instinct, you know me, I want the sub. He's probably going to sub him round 2-3 if the dog wins. If he loses, he's probably going to get hurt early. But I just looked at that KO prop and I'm like, holy shit, plus 1,600. Like anything could happen in this fight. Edmond could blow his load early and then get TKO'd late, like on the ground. So I just think that's a really impressive number, a really good number.
Yeah, can I add to your case saying Shabazian through all these gas bag outs has never been submitted in UFC? So it's kind of an
Mm,
interesting. Like I feel like Shabazian is a good grappler, but Mearshart's shown that tendency. What the thing I will say that you uncovered to me right there, Mearshart round 2-3 is 11-1 and 13-1. Round 2-3 sub is 14-1 and 16-1. So why are you getting greedy throwing knockout away
right.
if you're gonna bet
100%.
like if you're gonna bet a specific method there, just take the round prop instead and add it on for
Yeah.
basically the same price. So I think that's a great shout. Like last week we did this with Prates, and it seems kind of stupid the way that the fight played out all on the feet, right? And the Leech got KO'd in that fight. Like we said, take inside the distance instead of knockout just in case because the upside is there. I think the ground and pound upside is there, Maddie. So I'm you certainly brought that to my attention. I think that there's a clear way to play this one. Edmond by first round KO is plus 220. It's not a
Yeah.
great number, but like I think you're afraid of the early round chin. We saw it with Ian Heinisch. We saw it with Joe Pyfer. I think I'm forgetting one too, where GM3 got put out in the first round.
Shamai
Yeah,
Hamzat.
Kamaya. Yeah, Hamza. Yeah, I bet him again.
Yeah.
Hamza. That was
Yeah.
that's why I
Now
forgot it
GM
is because I wiped it from my memory.
Yeah. Now GM3 only has one KO in the UFC and a lot of subs. So I understand the number,
Yeah,
but all I'm saying here is that number's insane. I mean, the subs plus 430. If you want to go inside the distance,
yeah,
and just take GM3 to win by finish, you're going to get plus 330 there. I
yeah.
think you go round. I mean, do you see a world where he can win in round one? Because I think you
Mearshart?
just go round 2, 3. Yeah,
No. He's going to be on the defensive in round 1 in this fight. He's the significantly
yeah.
worse athlete, way worse attrition. Like it's not even
I
I
don't
can
think
see
he
this
has
fight in my
any. He
mind,
only
man.
has his first 2 fights in the UFC. He won in round 1,
Yeah.
and then since then, okay, he has won one round 1 win since then.
Yeah.
But I can see this playing out similar to the Brian Barberena fight where he just came off of, right? Like, slow start to the fight, and then he puts him away late round 2. I mean, it was 4 minutes in the round 2. He subbed him. I'm telling you, 2-3 makes a lot of sense to me, and then a
Yeah.
small sprinkle on the KO prop.
Yeah. I think I like round 2, 3 as well, and then I'm gonna play Shabazi in round 1. That you can hedge off a bit in round 2. I saw a round 2 for Shabazi and KO sitting around like plus 500, and I don't think he's subbing Mearshart either. Like I think he'd use his fists and try to avoid the danger there. So like I
Yeah.
think there's such good ways to play this fight minus 600 to not go the distance. I'm actually when I model it out, I've got Mearshart at plus 130, and then I've got this one 62-ish% likely to not go the distance. So I'm kind of showing value on the over. But like I don't see a world in which if Shabazian is death gassing, I crazier things have happened, but I just don't see a decision in this fight, man. I really don't. And if I did, I don't even know who would win it. Did Shabazian make the first 2, or did Mearshart end up laying praying?
Yeah. No, it'd be
So
a tough call.
yeah. So if this fight goes the distance, I might be a little bankrupt, but um,
Yeah.
whatever. But it's a good fight. But Maddie, let's move on here because you and I love these type of fights. Michael Morales is the hot shot prospect. He's almost minus 1,000 to defeat old Neil Magny. I donated against Magny in his last fight. I talked you out of it. Magny round 3 knockout against Mike Malott. Malott's gas tank ran out. Neil Magny ended up coming from behind, getting the win there. But man, the first part of that fight was a little ugly for Neil, which is probably why this
Hmm.
line sits as it does. Michael Morales is the next big thing at 170. I don't know, Maddie. Like I was able to model this. I feel like my model's completely broken on this fight. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But what are you thinking about Morales as the card's heaviest favorite or second heaviest favorite now with Kong Wang going out front? What a trash Apex card this ended up being. But like this is a
Yeah.
tough. I think this is a tough fight to decide at this number.
Yeah. I mean, look, Mike Neil Magny has nothing for Michael Morales. Like outside of if Morales somehow gasses like fucking Mike Malott did, which I don't see that happening. He's got a very good wrestling background and cardio, and I just think that, and he's also a guy that doesn't seek finishes, right? He lets the finish come to him. Um, so look, this fight can go one of 2 ways: Morales by decision or Morales by finish. What's very weird to me is Morales by sub is only plus 550. Doesn't that feel short for a guy that has 1 submission in his career? And it's just really weird to me. And then the KO is 2-1, and the decision is like even money for him. But I just don't understand where Neil Magny can have any success in this fight. Like Morales has that ridiculous wrestling base. He's the better striker. He's younger. He's got the gas tank. I don't know how Neil Magny can have any success in this fight. It's not even like Neil Magny has power to put your lights out and create an upset. We saw Gilbert take him to the ground in round 1 and sub him. And I'm wondering if that has anything to do with this number at plus 550 because it's just
Mhm.
weird that Morales is not a submission guy. Why is the sub not like double digits to me? I don't know. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting for sure. Now, Maddie, like I'm kind of with you where I feel like there is a significant gap, whereas I feel like Morales is better than Mike Malott, and we saw how dominant Malott was in this fight and put Magny in those precarious positions. My model has Morales at minus 155 here, so like it's a decent level of confidence, but not nearly this. And part of that's level of competition. You can't really make that all up in one swoop. We haven't seen a submission attempt from Morales yet to this point. I'm with you. I would have thought it was like double digits, but like do you even need to get cute when it's just bizarre to me that at welterweight in these two's weight class you can get Morales inside the distance plus 135. So like overwhelmingly odds makers are telling you it goes the distance, but man, it's like isn't Neil going to have to hang on quite a bit to go the distance? And by the way, guys, I'll take the blame for this on the data stuff. Neil Magny does not have an 18-inch reach advantage. Michael Morales is actually 16-0 on his record, and he's not 5'4". Otherwise, we'd be talking about a very
Jesus,
different
we
fight. Like,
butchered. Yeah, we butchered that shit.
what that is, I know what happened there. It's the wrong fighter data. That's hey, I'll take the 5'4" tank. The Torres Finney at middleweight, 5'4". Am I right?
Probably, yeah.
But yeah, no, like, isn't it weird that Morales is plus 135? It feels kind of trappy, but at the same time, I think a little bit of that is because Morales has gone the distance in his last 2 fights, but Magny might honestly be the most worst for wear of him, Jake Matthews, and Max Griffin. Like, those guys are a little closer to their prime than Neil. I still remember Neil walking around like Bambi after Ian Gary kicked his legs a billion times, somehow beyond expectation. It feels like if there were like in the NFL, they do luck rankings about turnovers and penalties and things like that. If there's luck rankings on Neil Magny going the distance or not, it feels like he's dramatically overperformed that to make it the distance in some of these fights, or to come from behind and win that fight against like Malad. I almost feel like this might even be a buy low spot on Morales just because of how Magny has performed in its last few fights. It's been so ugly. It's like it's way worse than the box score would indicate.
Yeah, I mean, how close do you think Neil Magny was to being finished by Malad? And then he did go the distance from Ian Gary, but like Ian's similar to Morales in
Not
a
a
way where
finisher.
he's not like seeking the finish guys. He's like he lets it come to him, and then it's just I don't know. I mean I don't see any way Neil Magny could win this fight. If you wanted to play Neil Magny money line, you're better off just taking Magny in round 3 at 40-1.
Yeah.
But I don't know. This fight makes no sense to me. You either like Morales by finish or by decision, and you can pick your poison there.
I think I'd honestly take finish of the two. So I've got finish. I've got them exactly the same finish and decision. So I guess the value might be on a finish if they're the exact same because it's plus 135. Like Morales, you think has to have heard the noise that he's just like a decision fighter. By the way, he saw what Carlos Prates did last week, and like if you're going to be the top prospect at welterweight, buddy, you better go out and do something pretty special this weekend because Prates just did. So like
I mean he put out Trevin Giles in round 1. Adam
dropped
Fugit in round 3.
twice. Yeah, he dropped Fugit twice in that fight.
Yeah, I almost think
yeah.
Morales round 1 is plus 330. It's like, come out and do what you're supposed to. You're a minus 950 favorite. Come out and finish this dude in the first round.
Yeah. Question is, no career submission attempts. Do we take plus 450 on the knockout or plus 360 or plus 330 you said on round 1? I feel like submission is undervalued here. It's another weird way. I feel like sub's usually longer than it should be. Feels a little shorter than it should be in this spot, given the tendencies we've seen from Michael. But he spent his last 2 fights at distance, so it's been a while. Like he's been in the lab too, so feels kind of trappy. Feels kind of trappy.
It's a weird fight for sure.
Yeah, it's not going to get any less weird as we move into these Ultimate Fighter finales. 2 of them here. This is the middleweight one. Robert Valentine taking on Ryan Loder. Valentine, I think actually might be the pronunciation there. Apologies on that. I didn't watch the Ultimate Fighter. I fast forward and watched the fights with no audio, so that's my consumption of the Ultimate Fighter for everybody out there. So like, I don't pay attention to the reality show hardly at all. I only know what comes to me via social media. I think that this fight is an intriguing one where Loder is a really strong wrestler, D1 wrestler. That's kind of his claim to fame. Valentine kind of like the star of the season in terms of finishing danger, charisma, looks super fast. I'm not surprised to see him as a minus 180 favorite here, Maddie, but both these guys have some positives. So what do you think about this Ultimate Fighter finale here?
Yeah, I mean, Valentine's won 4 fights in a row by finish. Ryan Loder's never been finished. So like automatically here, I really want to look at taking the favorite by points. It's 3-1.
Sure.
Like plus 300 here. Wrestling at the end of the day isn't going to always win you an MMA fight. You have to inflict damage here. I think there's a world where like Valentine could win like a 29-28 on a scorecard here at 3-1. It's actually the shortest outcome next to Valentine by knockout at plus 310, but I tend to lean the points here. If I'm getting the same number basically against a guy who hasn't been finished before, I'm leaning the decision number there.
Yeah, I mean, odds makers are throwing their hands up, Maddie. That decision at 3-1 is the shortest number on the board. Then Valentine KO plus 310, submission plus 440, Loder by points plus 480. I think that's a good look where he's definitely like the wrestling base to control large portions of this fight. It's not like the Contender Series. He doesn't need a finish to make it to UFC. He can take the most conservative game plan that he wants. I think if you like Loder, that points number is interesting, and then Loder KO 5-1, submission 7-1. So odds makers are throwing their hands up here and saying we don't really know. It's interesting you say that because I was actually leaning toward Valentine plus 135 inside the distance. I think a few stats here. I'm a stats guy. I don't really have any off these Ultimate Fighter finales. Trends that we've seen since the COVID break, since the Ultimate Fighter came back. Favorites in these finales are 6-2. The under is 6-2, and that the fight didn't go the distance in 6 of the 8 fights. So we typically see favorites. We typically see inside the distance finishes. And you just said Valentine was coming off. It was coming off 4 straight wins by finish. Loder, though, it seems very tough, very durable, very predictable style. So this is kind of a tough one. I think it is a tough one from a handicapping perspective. But if I'm following the trends, I kind of lean favorite inside the distance. But I don't hate your angle at all, just because the toughness of one guy can offset that Valentine trend quickly.
Right. No, I'm with you. It's a tough one for sure.
Yeah, I don't think this definitely won't be in our parlay. That's for sure. We'll save our time for another one.
100%.
This one a little bit more definitive on the money line, Maddie. The featherweight Ultimate Fighter finale. Myron Santos taking on Genghis Khan. I love that nickname, Genghis Khan Ofli here. Featherweight is one of the deepest divisions in UFC, so you better be a darn contender if you're going to come in. I didn't feel amazingly blown away by either of these dudes on tape when I taped them, so kind of interesting that they ended up in this spot. Khan was talking about, I want to be the backup to Brian Ortega, Diego Lopez. Why don't you pump your brakes and like beat a dude like Cavalcante first would be my response. But Myron Santos, Ofli, other finale here. How do you feel about this one?
Hey, you gotta like the confidence of him right there.
Yeah.
I mean, Santos fought Dan Argueta. What was that, back in 2022? Lost round 3, ground and pound.
Yep.
Since then, he won a grappling match and then an LFA fight by decision. And then Khan, 11-2-1. Oh my goodness. I don't have a fucking clue on this fight, bro. I honestly don't have a clue. I mean, I lean the favorite here. Minus 200 seems right to me. But
yeah,
I don't even know what I would play in this matchup.
Don't even have props either, which doesn't help with like relevant
right.
live
I was gonna
numbers
look
here.
at the sub prop.
Yeah, I think the one signature attribute that decides this fight between these guys is Santos' takedown defense, because I think he's the better striker. I love his tools at this division. Like, he's just a long guy, seems very fast, just kind of starting to come into his prime at 24, whereas Ofli, I think, is more of a finished product. And I could easily see him mixing in his wrestling and controlling parts of this fight, squeaking out a decision. Again, haven't made a formal ruling here either. So like I'm with you. I lean Santos. I would want to see if the knockout number could come in fairly appealing since he's had this history of decisions. I will say that he was 21 years old when he fought Argueta, so I'm a little bit more willing to let it go. He's in a very developmental time of like a timeline when you see fighters start to come into their prime. Whereas that Argueta fight was well before it, and Dan was a finished product. Dan was like 28, I think, in that fight. He was like close to his prime. So, I mean, like, maybe his takedown defense isn't shored up, and if it's not shored up, then hopefully should be able to coast and win minutes here. But I wish Santos was joining UFC, so I don't want to let that bias impact, because I feel like he has the higher ceiling in the promotion, but Ofli might be the better guy right now. It's kind of a tough fight for me.
Yeah, like hopefully he has these subs, but like look at the guys he's subbing.
Yeah.
Hex Fight Series 18 subs a guy who's 4-6 record. Then he has a guillotine choke against a guy at 4-4 record. And then his most recent win is a rear naked choke, but it took all the way to round 3 to get it, and that was against a 6-1 guy.
Oh
So it's
yes,
just hard. Yeah,
I was gonna say I watched that Wilbraham fight that Oakley had. I watched it this afternoon. He got hurt early in that fight. Oakley did, and that's kind
yeah,
of what led me. That's why I circled Santos KO on
yeah.
my notes, is
I think
because
like a Santos. I think like a Santos 1-2 KO here. Like if they can't get the takedowns, I mean
Mhm.
Santos does have somewhat of a proven takedown defense. I know it's not against the most elite guys, but
Mhm.
his takedown defenses look good. He's got striking. I think you play this guy round 1-2 here. Um, and just hope that he avoids the takedowns and can get off some damage here early.
Yeah, I don't feel comfortable enough to say that Ofli is a better wrestler than De Argueta. I know that Santos is the best striker that Ofli's ever faced, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So I feel like we
that's
have a
fair.
better measuring stick with Santos. I like his tools a lot, and like I'm trying to not let that bias impact me. And he had his moments early in that Argueta fight, so maybe I will dive into E plus and see if I can dive into these guys' tough fights and see anything that stands out a little more. But
Yeah,
not a huge angle from us. We're not going to
yeah,
pretend to be the show that we're going to dive into the film and be able to correctly diagnose these incoming fighters. Like we like to stick to the meats and potatoes, the data, the pay per view cards, like we did last week. We don't hide that. Like we're not like, I mean, we have those guys in the Discord that do grind film like that, and that's what we appreciate their input and their forgiveness. But Maddie and I like to stick to more proven fighters like this, which actually I think is a pretty good co-main event here between Tabitha Ricci and Angela Hill. Kind of a massive one at women's strawweight of which one of these ladies is going to go up or down. They both kind of hovered around that Mackenzie Dern level. We just saw Mackenzie pick up another win a couple of weeks ago. It is nearly a pick 'em. It's actually gone on both sides of the fence on FanDuel this week. Angela Hill was minus 118 on Tuesday. Now Tabitha
hmm
Ricci's minus 118. So you could absolutely see positive money, decent betting value on both sides of this fight. I guess the question still always though comes back to who do you think is going to win it? My model had an answer, and I'm curious, Maddie, what yours might be.
I'm so torn on this fight. My first initial read was Angela Hill is so improved, and she looked so good in her last fight. And I just think she can win the exchanges on the feet in this matchup. I've had people that I respect be on Ricci here, and I love Tabitha Ricci. Like I usually do bet Tabitha Ricci, but I'm confused in this spot. I think the odds are pretty close to spot on here. Like the question is, can Ricci get the takedowns? Because she doesn't have the best takedowns in the world. She's got really good grappling on the ground. She's got really good submissions on the ground. But Angela Hill looked so good in her last fight, but I'm almost wondering if it's kind of a sell spot for her. Like we still remember she is 39. Tabitha Ricci's still younger, getting better every single fight, fighting good competition. But I think this ultimately goes the distance, and I think it's going to be a split decision. I really do. I think I would bet a split decision prop here. I think that if Tabitha can get some early takedowns, I think she can get the nod here. But I just think Angela's going to be better on the feet. It's great matchmaking. I think this is a perfect matchup. But I think it could go either way on the scorecards.
Yeah, I think this is a great matchup. Like as far as like testing the two of these guys with what maybe I'm a little bit concerned about both with. I think the question comes down to, Hill looked awesome and she ended up submitting Luana Pinheiro in her last fight. Pinheiro's not somebody who's put out a ton of these unflappable results. She lost third round to Amanda Hebos as well, and then she just barely squeaked by the washed version of Michelle Watterson we just saw. So I don't know how real some of that is. Denise Gomes maybe bit off
It's a
a little
good
bit
point.
more than she could chew. Whereas
Yeah.
Ricci, I feel like, has actually fought the better competition recently, where you see she went up against Jillian Robertson. We saw how great Robertson's looked, especially in the grappling. And then Tisha Pennington in her last fight. I thought Tisha should have probably. We constantly change how we do striking versus grappling control. Ricci had all the grappling control in that fight. Pennington added more of the striking. Ended up losing the nod, Tisha did, but Ricci ended up winning that fight. I certainly think she physically dominated Pennington into spots where she couldn't get off, and then she lost a split decision to Loopy, or she's won 6 in a row. So like I feel like Ricci presents that level of physicality that Angie has struggled with, taken down 3 times and dominated by Mackenzie Dern. Just because Angie's beaten 3 straight girls that are, if they're not outside the rankings, they're certainly not close to the top 10. And now Ricci presents more of that jujitsu, more of that physicality, more of that grappling. I kind of lean her. I feel like Ricci's better than Mackenzie Dern. So when I saw what Mackenzie
Really?
did, I do. I really do. Where I feel like Ricci is a little bit better of a boxer. I think her defense is certainly a lot better than Mackenzie's on the feet. And like Ricci, at least I'm pretty sure Ricci has a sub more recently than Mackenzie Dern does.
I just think
Let's see.
Mackenzie's stronger and more physical than Ricci. Even though
Really?
Ricci's like shredded, I just think Mackenzie is better like strength. Like I don't know, it could be close. I feel like Ricci just feels smaller to me.
Yeah.
Like Mackenzie just feels yeah.
Maybe she's a
That's why I'm
little bit
wondering
smaller.
like if this fight comes down to can Ricci get early takedowns or not. And I
Mhm.
feel like if she can't, then I think Angela is a live dog on the scorecards. I guess she's a dog now, so I can say that. But I think it's going the distance. I think it's going to be a very close decision, 2 rounds to 1. I don't got
Yeah.
much more for you other than that.
Yeah, it's so close. I've got this modeled out 86% likely to go the distance, right? Um,
Yeah.
that feels right. It does feel like a close fight. I think the split decision prop is good, but I've got Ricci 52.4% to win it. I found plus 100 today on an unnamed sports book that has to do with a Greek mythological figure. I'll tell you that. So if you like Ricci, plus 100 still sitting out there. I'm not allowed to reference other sports books, but I gave you a hint. And I think that is what you want to do on this line. If you have a side that you like better than the other, I've modeled Ricci slightly ahead. I wanted to find the best in the number, and then overwhelmingly, I think it'll happen by points. Ricci by decision plus 140 on FanDuel. That is the best number I've seen thus far. I find it hard to believe either one of these ladies is finishing the other, bro. Like maybe Angie TKO would be like the lean that I have particularly, but Hill's shown such improved grappling, and she's never been submitted in UFC, so I don't see Ricci getting a sub here.
Right. No, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Let's
All
move
right.
on.
So let's move on to why I'm wearing these glasses, because last week Carlos Prates came through, John Silva came through back in Denver. The Fighting Nerds are on a roll, and here is their leader and their captain, Caio Borralho, the first guy that we saw on the scene. And now this is really Caio's big break. He's in the main event for the first time, taking on Jared Cannonier, a guy that fought for a world title. Very high level guy, arguably got robbed in his last fight in some manner by a bad stoppage against Nasser Denayem, evolved in a fight that definitely was close up until that point. Who knows how it would have trended from there? But this is the top of middleweight. We will see if Caio is ready for that. And odds makers kind of think he is, minus 245 on the money line here, Maddie. So what do you think about this matchup stylistically, and then and kind of how these two might end up looking in the cage on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, look, Caio, I think, has the higher fight IQ. I think he's going to come in with a game plan and implement it. I was rewatching the Derek Brunson Jared Cannonier fight earlier today,
Sure.
and like Brunson was just relentless with his takedowns, and he was getting them. And I just think that Caio's a guy that looks at every fight differently, comes out with a specific game plan for that fight. We saw the Paul Craig fight, wanted nothing to do with the grappling. Literally said, I'm just going to knock this dude out. Jared Cannonier, I think it's going to be the polar opposite. Like, I don't think he's going to want to get in a brawl with Jared Cannonier. I think he's going to use the in and out striking, like karate style. He's very smart defensively. This guy just cares about winning. Honestly, his teammates are much better finishers than he is. I think he's the one guy out of his whole team that doesn't get a finish every single fight, or at least it doesn't feel like it. And I think he just cares about winning and moving up the rankings here. I could see a Caio by decision. I could think also the sub could be live here. I mean, Derek Brunson had Jared Cannonier's back at the end of round 1 in their fight. And then if you look at who Cannonier's fought, like I don't think he's really been sub, but like who's this dude fought that's going to sub him? He fought Imavov, Vittori, Strickland, Adesanya, Brunson, Gaslam. I mean, that's 6-7 straight fights without a submission threat. He fought Jack Hermanson back in 2019, but Hermanson's a little more one-dimensional
Mm-hmm.
in a way. Anderson Silva, David Branch, Dominic Reyes, Jan Blachowicz. He's not fighting any grapplers. He fought Glover Teixeira back in 2017, and that was a decision. So, if you can hold up against Glover and not get subbed, and he's never been subbed in the UFC, I mean, my gut tells me that Caio is going to win a 5-round decision here. He's going to win 3 or 4 of the 5 rounds. But I do think that if he finds his back, he could get a sub as well. So I would go double chance here. I know Cannonier is coming off of the knockout loss, so there is some danger to leaving the knockout off this thing. But Caio doesn't really search for these knockouts. When his last fight, yes, he was searching for it, but like he doesn't even keep his base down when he's throwing these shots. Like he's kind of reaching on Paul Craig and just trying to tag him. And like I don't think he's going to put Cannonier out. Like I get he can control him and maybe a ground and pound is the risk there, but I'm going Caio double chance here. Double chance submission or on points is -130. It brings a -250 down to -130. Gut says he wins the decision here, but I could see the submission as well.
Maddie, I think you and I are almost on the same wavelength, and I want to be clear here. I'm not like biased against Caio and that I'm rooting for him to win here. I bought these glasses after I modeled him -190. I said, why don't we just do something fun? Because I was going to go with Caio in the main event this week. Age certainly favors him. Attrition favors him. And some numbers that I dug up this week where we really, like you said, haven't seen Cannonier in a matchup where he has had to wrestle. But he has ceded at least 3 takedowns to the last 4 guys that he's faced, Cannonier has, that average at least 2 takedowns per 15 minutes. That's right where Caio is. He's at 1.99, but he would be higher in terms of takedown landed if he wasn't so darn good at controlling guys when they get to the mat. The thing is that he's not going to average a large amount of takedowns because he's so good with his either top or back control. I feel like he's in 63% takedown accuracy. He is a really good wrestler. He can get guys to the ground just as good as some of these other guys I'm talking about in Cannonier's sample. And Cannonier's 61% takedown defense, it's below average, right? And like, we just haven't seen Jared in this type of matchup in a while. Caio is a physical beast. I think it's one of his positive attributes. And like, I know this is his first main event. He wants to make a statement, but
he's going to look massive. He's going to look massive next to Cannonier. How tall?
Yeah.
He says 6'1", but he feels bigger than that.
He is 6'1". He's listed 6'1".
Yeah.
And Cannonier, it's going to be a weird fight where
Cannonier's probably like 5'9", bro. He ain't 5'11". He's probably 5'9", 5'10". I mean, he's a big dude, but he ain't tall. I just like Brunson towered over him.
Yeah. I mean, and so like I feel like Cannonier, he made it to the 4th round against Imavov. Defense on the feet, 58% striking defense. Look, I know Caio came on and said that he was going to knock out Cannonier like in the 1st round. I don't see it. And by the way, the signature attribute of why I like the Fighting Nerds is they always take the smartest, most appropriate game plan. Why would you stay at distance against a guy from MMA Lab and put it in his lab where he is the most effective? This is what Cannonier wants to do. No, he's probably going to put him on his back. He's going to try to take him down. And I feel so good about him doing that and mixing it in. I've got Borralho, like I said, 65.2% likely to win. I've got this fight 61.3% likely to start round 4. I love Borralho 4-5 or decision here. It's plus 130. I think it's a good core bet if you don't want to lay minus 245 on his money line because this is raised substantially since the last fight, and it's like the thing is that he would be an even larger favorite if not for his level of competition. It isn't great, but the thing is he's always exploiting the potential weakness of his opponent. Michal Oleksiejczuk, he struggles 100%. On the ground. Where did he take him? He took him to the ground. Abus, he ended up staying at distance with Abus. He was able to wear on him a little bit in some clinch situations.
Yeah, that's the one fight I don't like about his resume, bro, if I'm being honest.
Abus is good, though. Abus has gas.
Abus is high level striking. Yeah. I know. No, but that just shows, like, he's not seeking these finishes. Like, you look at all these fights, Petrosian decision, a boost decision, like Michal Oleksiejczuk. I mean, but again, when he fights strikers, he does find these subs. The Oleksiejczuk was a nice rear naked choke. Look, honestly, I think money line. The problem is it's soared so much. Like if you could have got Caio at like -190, -200, I would just pay the juice in this matchup.
Yeah.
This is a big step up in competition, but again, I just think that he's going to have a grappling advantage here that will allow him to win rounds. And we haven't really seen Kyle in trouble at all.
Yeah.
You know, can you recall a moment where it's like, oh, he got hurt? Like
Nope.
he's pretty responsible defensively. He's in and out with his movement. Like he just doesn't get hurt. He's very high IQ. I think he's going to win rounds, and I think maybe he could get a sub. I just, I don't think he's going to walk through Cannonier. Like Cannonier, I mean, let's not forget 2 fights ago, Cannonier looked like he's a future champ. What he did to Marvin Vettori, no one's put that big of a beating on Vettori ever. You can say what you want about Vettori and how he's not good defensively and all of these things, but like Jared Cannonier might have took 10 years off of Vettori's life. Like he put that type of beat down on him.
Yeah.
So but then again, his very next fight, he doesn't look good. And he kind of faded for the first time. So it's hard to completely sell Cannonier here. And anyone that wants to take a dog shot on him, I don't blame you. It's kind of a buy low spot and kind of a sell high spot on Caio, who was fighting a one-dimensional Paul Craig. But I just think that at the end of the day, fighting nerds prevails. Caio comes with a game plan. I think he gets 3 to 5 takedowns in this fight. It's a 5-rounder. I think he stays smart defensively and he's responsible. And I think he probably wins like a 4-1 decision or maybe like a late sub or something.
Yeah, problem is that you think about a buy low spot, but Jared is 40. So like when you see a deteriorated version, it's hard to feel good about buying low on that versus if he was 32. It feels like nature sort of coming to fruition, and it's like I think it is difficult as well. So we're kind of on the same page. Caio later, right? We're both kind of on that same tenor of the fight, whether it be by decision or like I mean maybe there is this super aggressive version that comes out and gets an early submission and downs me. And like you said,
I mean sometimes like he could be addicted to that knockout, and like someone in the chat said 50K KO bonus, but I don't believe that that's what he's going to do here. Even if he comes out and says, oh, I'm getting a KO. I saw something in the chat. I'm getting a KO in the first round. Like he didn't knock out Paul Craig in the first round. Like why do we think he's going to finish Jared Cannonier? And Cannonier is also, he's not marching forward and getting starched. Like he's pretty calculated too. He knows it's a 5-rounder. I just think this fight goes late, and I think it's Caio's fight to win, the younger guy.
I agree with you. So, why don't we move forward, Maddie? You and I on the same page about a lot on this card, so we might actually be able to build us a parlay that is a decent contender from last time. So, interesting. So with our quote unquote safe parlay, which is always around 5-1, and that's why it's in the biggest air quotations ever, especially coming off.
It was safe. It was safe last week. So
it sure was. It was free cash last week, but all because you and I forgot it simultaneously. That maybe I won't put it in for everybody to go through. But Maddie, do you have any particular legs as I try to get through FanDuel Sportsbook's authentication system? You have anything that stands out for you?
I mean, I'm not opposed to putting Caio money line in the lay. The problem is it's just scored so much. So I'll leave it up to you if you want to put it in there. It's minus 265 now.
That's the one bet that I feel good about because I do see outcome for Caio. Like early sub is not off the table. Decision late. Like we wouldn't have to worry if you take the money line. That's what it's about, and I think that's what our safe parlay is usually about. So I think we should take Caio money line minus 265.
All right, let's do that. And then
should we try to do a sandwich again, bro? Where we go back to the beginning of the card, end of the card, and somewhere in the middle.
I'm down. I mean, we could go calling inside the distance.
I was thinking the exact same thing.
Minus 190. I mean, I'd almost rather take the fucking sub and juice this thing up a little nuts. Yeah.
No, I mean, it's plus 110 with inside the distance already, and we haven't even added a third leg. So I think we should take inside the distance minus 190. Leonardo to me is a can. I don't think she's got a UFC future if you're out here losing or barely. Let's take inside the distance. Alrighty. And then somewhere in the middle, do we go Shabazian Mearshart? I mean, I don't feel great about.
Call me crazy here. Oh, hold on. We can't. Call me crazy here. I think we go Zachary Reese sub plus 220 and just call it a
Dude,
day.
I was thinking the same thing, and that's plus 572. I had the same thought as do we
Done.
go resub?
Done.
Alrighty.
That
Alrighty, I'll
felt
put it in
so
chat.
easy. That felt
Yeah.
so easy to make that parlay that I'm almost positive it's fucking smacking.
Alrighty. So our safe parlay this week, and we're doing a sandwich again, just like last week, which paid well. Wang Kong inside the distance. We're doing Reese sub and Caio Borralho money line.
Yeah.
I always misspell Caio's last name. I get the consonants wrong, but and if you tie all that together on FanDuel right now, it's plus 572. So you want to throw that up for everybody, from the comments. So our quote unquote safe parlay, calling inside the distance. I feel so good about Reese sub, dude. It's my favorite individual prop. Like if you said you need an exact method that's going to hit this week, I would pick Reese sub.
I love Reese sub here. I love it.
Yeah, the other
I don't have
so
honestly. Tough. So if we're gonna go long shot here, I think we go GM3 inside the distance.
Okay.
On a double chance, so that's plus 330, and then I think you pick a leg, and then I think we run that.
So you want to go? Okay. I mean,
pick
the only reason
like some juice to it, like a plus 400, plus 500. Something,
I know you love the KO, but your sharp sub in 2 or 3 is plus 750.
All right, if we can get more specific with, okay, if you want to do that, I'm fine with it.
Okay, Mirror Sharp by sub round 2 or 3 plus 750. You're gonna have a little KO prop anyway, so you won't be.
I just feel like it's hard for people. Yeah. Not everyone can play that number. You know?
True.
So I just like to keep it simple and go GM3 inside the distance at plus 330.
Okay.
And then if we look at, I think we go back to the prelims here because the Arichi fight is tough. I think we're a little split there.
Yeah.
And we don't want to double down on the Caio fight. I mean, we could go Con sub, but we both like that, but we're kind of double dipping a little bit there. Or we go Cavalcante.
What about, I mean, I wish we could do just 2 or 3, but what about Borshev 2-3 KO and Mearshart 2-3 sub? I know it's FanDuel only, but that's like a theme.
I mean, why don't we just go Borshev KO?
Okay, that's
plus 170. We might have to add one more leg then, since it's a long shot. What if we did as the last leg? I mean, we got to look at that Michael Morales fight.
I mean, Morales inside the distance is plus.
I'm in on that.
Okay.
He's got to put Neil Magny away, bro.
You know what, bro? We can just go with the theme of this fight if we want to do like a theme, just so it's easy for everyone to remember. Borshev inside the distance is plus 140, KO's plus 170.
I'll take the KO. He ain't fucking
shit. Well, no, but okay.
26-1, bro.
Hear me out though. Yantop was submitted in his last fight.
All right. Double chance.
Okay. Because then this is just super easy to remember. You got Borshev, GM3, Morales all inside the distance is plus 2325, dude.
GM3 inside the distance.
I got it. So we got an ITD parlay.
Yeah.
We got Borshev. If he subs him, we're gonna look like geniuses.
Yeah. I love that.
I'm gonna play that, dude. I'm gonna play that with everyone on the show. So the ITD bar inside the distance parlay, Borshev, GM3, Morales, all inside the distance plus 23-25. Did you want to cook up one more for everybody?
No. Well, you go ahead. I gotta use the bathroom, so give me 30 seconds.
I got nothing. All right. We'll see.
I got nothing else, bro. So
are we waving off the show? Okay. We made these people wait long enough at the beginning. Okay. We made these people wait long enough at the show. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Every single week here that we can. Technical issues forbidden. That was the weirdest thing. It must have been on StreamYard, Maddie, that we couldn't figure out what was going on. But it looks like no card next week for Labor Day. So no card next week. We'll be back 2 weeks time. We have Gilbert Burns taking on Sean Brady.
Gilbert,
so we'll see.
By knockout, mortgage type bet. Round Gilbert 2-3 is going to be insane. Gilbert by knockout 2-3.
Yeah,
that's my prediction.
Absolutely. So we'll be back. That'll be a fun one, of course, because of Maddie's attachment to Gilbert. We got PFL. We'll have my
Yeah.
UFC card dropping in the Discord on tomorrow, Friday. Maddie will have his card Friday into Saturday morning for some long shots as well. I definitely think that this could be a good card. You and I kind of in lockstep, so we appreciate y'all tuning in for us. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time. Nothing else from me, but until you see us again next time, best of luck. Hope you guys hit. Hope we can keep rolling and keeping things good here. We will see you guys very, very soon.
Yes, sir.